How's it going? So I'm going to show you how to create filters, like literally manually, so you will fully understand how they work and how to create them. Like the idea in here is that normally in companies, companies separate filters or filter functions, whatever, into separate files, so it's very easy to get lost. So after this, you will not be lost. And then I'll also show you how to basically conditionally change values in a cell. So for example, I don't know, let's say you want to hide some kind of anything, right? Bottom line, like you can conditionally say if date is such as this and the name is Sam, display VIP or something like that, or add VIP or whatever you want. Do you know what I mean? And then finally, I'll show you how to conditionally, how to return a HTML into a cell. Long story short, this is an accessor function, this is a cell function, right? But most of the tutorial is going to be the filters, basically, right? Okay, so let's get started. So the first thing, so I'm going to have this in the description below, so most of the questions are going to be here and most of the solutions are going to be here. I'm also assuming you already covered this tutorial, so you understand how the stuff works. So this is just like an in-depth guide on filters, basically. Okay, so we are going to do the first thing we're going to do. So I'm gonna have repo in the description below. Repo in description. Let me just make a note. Repo in description. Okay, so starting code is gonna be in it, but it's basically you can copy and paste it from here. Basic code. It's exactly the same. The only change I did was I changed table instance to table because it just nowadays it makes more sense to me, right? But you can call whatever you want. And then column definitions are gonna be in here on the bottom, right? So create two files. One is gonna be whatever you want. I called it YouTube. Copy and paste. So take your starting code, take your table, right, table, and copy and paste it into here. Right, and then we want the starting code, column definitions, copy and paste it into column definitions like this. Done. So obviously this is create React app, so display it. You should see something like this. That means we're good to go. Now we're gonna be console logging a lot, so I would advise you, if you have like small screen, to do something like this, because this part in here is honestly not that relevant. We're gonna be mostly working in this part here. Okay? Okay, so let's get started. The first thing you need to do with filters to make them work is you need to import the filter thingy. Let me just do this for you. Whoopsie. So you can see better. So the first thing we do is we add get filter model, and then we bind it to our instance of the table, like this, right? So we need if filter's not working, this is probably missing. All right. So that's the first thing we need to do. Now, you probably want to create, because this is React, you want to probably create use effect with a dependency as nothing, right? So you can see how stuff is happening. Now also it's going to re-render multiple times, so what I do is count set count React use state. Now normally you don't need to do this, but like it's just to But anyway, we'll keep this in here, but we're gonna use it later. Alright, so okay, so the first thing we need to do is how can you see the filters at what, like, how can you see the filter state? Generally, this is a very, very good like this. We're gonna refer to this a lot. This one here, a table get state. Table state it's like this, right? So in here you're gonna see a lot of cool stuff. Like one of the most important ones, we want to know column filters, right? So this is where you can see them, right? You can see other stuff in here. Now generally this is a very, very good thing to console log, right? If you're looking for something, you can find a lot of stuff in here. Okay, so that's the first. I'm gonna be basically going question by question in here, right? Once we finish, I probably do frequently asked questions as well, because this will not make sense until you understand this. So let me make a note in here. Go through frequently asked questions. Actually, I'll probably do it after filters, because most of them are on filter. Like almost all of them are on filter function. Okay. Okay, so the first thing we want to do is how do we manually set the filter, right? So let's say we want to, only see Tommy or only see ID 1, right? How do we do it without just manually? How do you actually do it? Okay, so the first thing you do is we do table, so table instance dot get header groups map. We're basically trying to access columns right now, right? And this is how you access columns. So it's going to be headers. I'm going to console log headers. So you get to see what is going on in here. Okay, so headers is giving us, look, you see, every single header is in here. And we have access to the columns, to the column. Okay, so that's exactly what we need to do. We need to access the columns, right? So we do, okay, so let's console. Now, when I'm going to console log stuff, you probably need to pause the video and then look at the, actually I'll just do it with you just for, so I remind myself, what am I doing, you know? Column dot. Okay, so now we have column. Okay, so we should have a, so this is headers, map column. Oh, whoops, my apologies. Headers dot headers, because yeah, headers are inside of the headers. So this basically gives you kind of like the head. I don't know why it is. It's just like that. It's like it's basically in headers. So because you can see it's in here, right? I don't know. Let me just remind it. Headers array. Let's go. Headers array. There you go. So now inside headers array, we have all the headers, right? Yeah. And now we have every single column individually. You see, so now we're mapping through every single column individually. Now it's going to do it twice because this is React. To separate, I normally put this thing in here, like so. So now you can see the physical separation. You see? So now we have every single one of them mapped through. So now all we want is column. So we want basically this access to this stuff here. So now every single one of them is being... Is it? Yeah, because if you just do column like this... Well, this is going to be column object, right? So this is going to be column object. Object. Column object. Like so. Now they're probably gonna look exactly the same, to be honest with you. So this is column object, and then inside column object we want this thing here, you see? Because this gives us access to every single one of the columns. I know it's giga confusing, but you need to kind of just console log a lot of stuff and you will realize, oh yeah, I understand what the hell is going on, okay? So now we want column, now we want basically to console log column object dot column. So this will be single column. Giga confusing, I know. Sorry about that. Okay. So you see, now we have, so this is column object. We don't need to do, yeah, okay, so single column. So single column has all this accessor stuff like setting states, getting states, setting filters, and getting filter values, right? So, actually I forgot to do one thing. How do I get filter value? Let me just pause 1 second. Okay. So now we have access to every single column. Now we want to set the filter value. So it's very simple. You just set filter value and you put the string in. Whatever you want. Right? I don't know. Something like A. Now, this is gonna show nothing because it's trying to filter everything by A, right? So we need to kind of conditionally, sort of like conditionally filter. If that makes sense. So let's okay, so let's say, right, so let's say we want to do only this guy here. So, what is the column ID? Column ID is last name in here. You can get it from column definition, right? So last name, accessor key. The accessor key is the same as ID, like it's in here it's called in here it's called ID, but it's actually accessor key, right? So we know that it's last name. Whoops. So it's last name. So if last name, so we want if ID is last name, so we are targeting this column here, and we want to set a filter in here to tho. Right? So let's do that. I know it's confusing, I'm sorry, but like, it's just the way it is, you know? Super confusing, oh my god. Alright, so let's do conditional. If column object column dot id equals to last name, right? So we are targeting last name column. We want to set this column filter, set filter value to, what's his name? Tho, like this. And then this in theory should filter and just show us tho. Yeah, you see? So now it's showing us tho. So this is identical to, do you remember in tutorial where, well, I'll show you in tutorial, where is the column filtering. Do you remember this column filtering mumbo jumbo? Right, so we did this, and that's what happened, right? So we did exactly the same, only you can't physically see. Basically, think about this function here as an input, right? And all that input does is set filter value, right? So every time you're typing, it's targeting the column, right? So this gets automatically targeted for you because of the input component I created in the previous tutorials, right? But in here we're doing it manually. We're selecting specific column, and then for that column we're setting the filter value. So this is exactly the same in here, you see? We're targeting the column, which is last name, accessor key last name, and then we're just setting the filter, and then that's it. We're doing exactly the same thing, only we are doing it manually. Now, I want you to show that is because, again, like, you need to learn how does the engine work, if that makes sense, you know what I mean? So let's just remove this and let's do one more. So let's do, so this is going to unfilter. Right, okay, so let's do email. And let's do email go AAA. Well, it's probably not gonna. Well, let's do email and I don't know. Let's do first name and contains A. Right, so all we have to do is put a string A into the first name. Right, so let's do what's the accessor? First name is like this, right? So first name. So set filter value to A, like this. Let's see what it's going to find. Okay, so this is all where the first name has A. Let's do ha, right? Let's try ha. With a capital like this. Okay, question. Is this case sensitive? Let's try. Are filters case sensitive? No, it's not. So what the filter does, every single value gets converted into to lowercase, right? So we're gonna put this into our frequently asked questions. 1 second. I'm gonna pause 1 second. Okay, so sometimes you need to see the filter value. Alright, so the way to do that is very easy, because sometimes you want to kind of, I know you're working with tables, you want to see the filter value for some reason, and you want to if it's specific value, you want to do something with it. So it's giga easy. It's basically this is the easiest way. Get filter value, like this. Let me just do this. So filter value is like so. Now it's probably not gonna show it to you first time because you have to re-render, but it might. Let's see. Yeah, you see you need to re-render it a couple of times. Oh, yeah, I can see it, but it says undefined. That's because we need to re-render it a couple of times. If count equals to 10, return. I just want to get rid of the infinite hook. Count and then let's put table. And then whoopsie. Set count plus 1. Honestly, we can probably do 5 re-renders. Yeah, I think that should be enough. So you see now we can see filter value is set to ha. Do you see? So let's type hello, and you will see that you can see the filter value. Now that's one way of doing it. So this is how you can see the filter value if it's done through, you see, and there it is, hello, right? Now, alternative way of doing that again is this way. Do you remember I showed you in the beginning? Because you can pass table instance into your child component, and then from there you can get the state of the filters. Now it's not going to show anything because there is no hello in the table. So, but you should be able to table state. You see column filters. You can see them. Value is hello, and ID is the accessor function. So it shows you which column has the filter. So if you have multiple filters, it will show you an array of objects with like ID, last name, filter, whatever. Okay, so just remember this because sometimes you want to, when you work in filters, you want to know how to access this. Okay, so this is how to get filter from value we covered. Yeah, what happens when I add the filter? Where can I see them? So I already showed it to you. You can see them either here, or you can see them in here. Table get state. Like ideally you want to do column filters like this. That's the way to do it correctly, actually. You see, so now we have column filters. Okay, so probably next we'll be moving to multiple filters, right? How to set up manual filter function. Okay, yeah, so this is probably the most important part. Let me just pause. And okay. So we are at filter function. Okay, so we're gonna keep this at maybe hello. Yeah, so now we go to column definitions, right? And we create so something very, very simple. Let's do first name, right? So filter fn and then name of your function, which is I don't know, first name filter function. Now you can do it this way, or you can do it this way. But first name filter fn, which you can do it like this. And we can put it somewhere here. Let's just put it in here. You can put it to a different file if you want, whatever, you know. Again, you can put it as an arrow function, but we'll do it this way. Okay, so filter function. I'll link this in the description below. You can see it has 3 arguments in it. Let me put this into here. Whoops. Official docs. Mamma mia! It happens when I have this thing. What is it called? No, YouTube Shorts. What is it called? Yeah, Tap Suspender. Very nice extension, by the way. It saves a lot of memory. If you have like 8 megabytes of RAM. Now, I have like 32, but it still saves a lot of memory because if you're running like a Docker container. So I put this thing in here so you have access to it in here. Right. So. Okay, so it has 3 arguments. So first one is the row. Second one is gonna be column ID. And then third one is gonna be filter value. Okay, so the way filter function works is that every single time it goes through the table and it encounters filter function, it is going to compare the row. So it's going to call the row. So I'll show you that it's calling the row. Row is being called. And you will see that it's actually calling the row. I'm probably gonna console remove this so you don't get confused. And then probably I'm going to add this thing to it. So you can see every single row being called separately. Huh. Why is it not being called? Oh! Because there's no filter. Yeah. If there are no filters, it doesn't call. If there are filters, then it calls. Okay, so we need to put a filter in. So we need to uncomment this stuff. We probably do not need this. I'm just trying to remove console log so you don't get confused, you know. Okay. So now as you can see, as soon as there is a filter value, every single row gets called, and filter. Well, let me just get this out of my head 1 sec. I just want to frequently asked questions. If there are no filters in the table, will filter function be called? And the answer is no, because there is nothing to compare row values to. Okay, so fundamentally, like, this is very, very important. You need to understand how the filter function works. As soon as there is something to, as soon as there's some kind of filter, right, it will be called on every single row, and then it's going to, I don't know how to, I'm trying to explain it in a simple terms. Okay, let's do something slightly different. Okay, filter function, for row to be shown in the table, the filter function must return true. So filter function can return one of two things, either true or false. Okay? If so, think about it. It goes through every row and it looks row 1. Does the filter function return true? Yes. Return the row. Show the row. Row number 2. Is the filter function returning true? Yes. Show the row. And it does that for every single value, every single row. So if you have 10 million rows, your table is going to be very, very slow. All right, because it goes through. Okay, does this row return? Does the filter function of this row return true? Yes, show. If not, does it show true? Yes, show. Does it show true? False? No. I'll show you. Like, I'll remove every single row by returning false. Look, return false. Nothing is going to be shown. Oh, whoops. Like, this is probably the most important thing to understand about how the filter function works. Just this compare function. It's a compare function. It takes every single row as an argument and compares. And you have to return. If it's true, it shows the row. If it's false, it does not show the row. And that's it. So based on that, you can create conditions. Okay? So let's say we want to create a condition where let's say if row ID, so we can see row IDs in here, right? Row ID is equal to 0, we want to show it, right? Row ID is equal to 0, we want to return true. What does that mean? It's going to show it, right? Else return false. So now we're only gonna have one. We're only gonna have one row basically. You see, because it matches. So it looks at the row. It looks at the condition. Is the ID 0? ID 0. We are returning true because filter function returns true. The row is being shown. And now it looks at this one. Is the ID 0? No. Returns false. False does not show in the table. And then it goes through every single one of them, and then that's it. So yeah, like if you have million rows, it's gonna be slow. Okay, so the next question is probably like, if the filter function does not return anything, it counts as true. So if the filter function is blank, you see, we're not returning anything. It will be, everything is going to get returned, right? So for something to be returned, it has to be either true or undefined. And then that's it. You can also, well, let's go through the questions one by one. So how to manually filter, okay. So that I explained. Okay, probably what is column ID? So column ID is going to show you which column has the filter. And filter value is going to be, well, how to explain it to the easiest way? Yeah, okay, I'll explain to in a more simpler way. Do you remember this value here? Right? So ID, so this here, first name, is going to be this value here, column ID. And filter value is is gonna be this. Okay? So when filter function gets triggered, it's going to show you which accessor key got triggered right? So it's going to show you this, and it's going to show you this. Does that make sense? And all of that can be also seen from here. Let me just make a note of that, okay? Whew. Okay, so I hope that makes sense, right? So that we covered. Next we're gonna probably do multi-filters. Okay, so how to pass values into the filter function. This is kind of I already covered. So if you want to pass, so row gets called automatically. You do not need to pass a row into the function, like it just automatically gets triggered. Column ID comes from here. So when a accessor key calls the function, i.e., right, so you have like this column gets triggered, it will be displayed in here, column ID. And then filter value comes from, you can pass filter value through here. So you see, like, let me just actually console log it so you can actually physically see this stuff. Right, so let me maybe return. Well, actually, let me just return. So this will be column ID. And this will be filter value. So again, look, what's going to happen? Row is going to be every single one of the rows in the table. Column ID is going to be, so which one is triggering the filter function? It's going to be this one here. If you have multiple, you're going to get multiple values. One, but like, well, I'll show you later. Right? So, first name is going to be this value. And then filter value is going to come from whatever is set for the filter value of this column. So we know that it's going to call probably 100 times every row. Every row is going to have different ID. Every column is going to be the same because every single row is going to call first name, because that's where the function is coming from, right? And value is going to be here, hello. So we're going to see 100 rows with column ID first name and value hello. That's my expectancy of what's going to happen, right? Oh, no, actually. It's going to happen only one time because we're conditionally filtering. Oh, actually, no, it's going to happen 100 times. Yeah, my apologies. Yeah, it's going to happen 100 times, yeah. Because the compare function runs for every single row. Even if we're filtering by... Yeah. So you see? Wait, column ID. Why is column ID so different? Did I troll? Oh, because they're all... My apologies. Sorry about that. Filter value. Okay, so this is this. Yes, filter value is this. Okay, good. I was just wondering why they all look the same, you know, it's very weird. Yeah, so you see we get first name, which is the accessor key or ID, and then value is hello, which we set in the component foo. And that's it. Okay, makes sense. Alright, so we've done that. Okay, so let's do multi-filters, right? So let's do... Now, it's not going to display anything probably, but I will do... Well, let's do A in here so we get a lot of values, right? Let's do A. And then we probably want to... Yeah, because filter function is not returning anything, it's displaying everything, okay. Okay, so what are we going to do? So filter values in here. Well, I'm not going to return anything from filter function. I'm just gonna keep it so you can see it, right? So the second thing, if let's just copy it and put an email. Let's just put email in here. Column ID equals. What's there? Okay, so it's now it says ID, but again you have to remember it's a. Well, let's just call it first name, and then this is gonna be our email, like this. So now we're gonna see. So okay. Interesting, it's already filtering. Oh, yeah, the problem is because there's no our email. Like, the reason why we don't see anything is because we don't have filter function. You see, it's only returning first name, but not email. That's because we had not yet binded column definition to the filter function. Okay, so now if we add this in email, all the columns are gonna appear, because remember that we set the value of email filter to our emails, and there is no row that will match that string, right? So all rows returned false because there is a built-in compare. If you don't include the filter function, it automatically compares it for you, right? So kind of like works like a string. So now you see we're getting both. We're getting first name and then email. Okay, so again, what's happening here? Let's look what's happening here, right? So the filter function goes through the columns, right? Which column is calling? First name is the first one to call. So it's going to look at the row, it's going to look at the column ID, which is going to be first name, and then value is going to be hello, I think. No, first name, right? Now it's going to go through here, there's no filter. Now, then it goes to here. First name is calling filter function. It's going to go into the row, calls automatically, column ID, email. So this is going to be email, and then filter value is our email, right? So we can see that happening in here, if that makes sense, you see? So it goes into, so that's the row, accessor ID. Well, accessor key is first name, and first name value in the filter is first name. And then it keeps going. Column email is calling the accessor function with a value of our email. And then it compares to the row, and then whatever. Okay? So that's how it works, basically. Well, let's do one. Let's do one filter just for the fun of it, right? So let's do filter. So let's do first name is let's do first name starts with A, right? Includes A, and then email includes A as well. So let's see what happens. Right, so if row dot, what is it gonna be here? So we want to get value from the row. Well, what do we want? We want if column ID. Well, we want what? We want row dot let me just think. Hold on a sec. Let me just think what I want to do here. Okay, so let's do first if column ID is equal to first name. So we're gonna be looking at the first filter, right? So now we are in the first filter. Yeah, so I forgot one important thing. That's why I kind of I was thinking I forgot something. Okay, so how to explain it? Now, when you have data, right? So how do you actually access every single part so you can conditionally do like conditional filters? Like for example, let's say only female with first name starting with A. So how do you access this object? You have to remember that every row is essentially this object here, right? So the way we do that is we do like this. Look, it's gonna be original object. So it's gonna be row dot original. I'll show it to you actually straight away, so you'll be able to see it. So this is row. You see original, and that's where all the values are coming from. There's also value cache, which is also accessible. Now this will only display what's inside, what is being shown in the table, but this is kind of like original, is the original object. So that's where you kind of get all of your values from, I suppose. Right, so for example, let's say we want to, well, let's just yeah, so you see we get the original object. And here you is just standard JavaScript pretty much at this stage, right? So there it is, you see. So now it's just standard JavaScript stuff, right? So okay, so let's do, so his first name, so let's do let test equals, so we want row original dot first name, because we have to remember what's the first name, and let's do includes and then filter value, because filter value right now is A basically, right? So we want every single first name that has an A in it, right? So return test. Now test can be either, so if this test is true, let me just, okay, so if test is true, we want to return true. If test is false, return false, right? You can just return test because it's a boolean, it's gonna be either true or false, but whatever, I'll just make it easy for you. Okay, so now you will see that we need to save probably, right? Yeah, we need to save. And then we can... Oh no. Oh, okay, it's working. God damn it. Really? It does that sometimes, honestly, my Chrome. It's because I'm recording, you see. Okay, I'm gonna have to restart my Chrome. 1 second. Okay, we're back on track. The only problem is in here there should be A. So you need to go to the component and then change set filter value to A. Otherwise it's not going to return anything. Right, so now we're gonna... Yeah, so you see? It only returns names where the first name has an A in it, right? We can do ha, just so you can see that. Like this. It's probably gonna be a lot less now, right? Yeah, only ha, okay. And let's do .me, right? So it should return only this. So where email has .me in it. So .me. So now we need to create a second condition if column ID equals to email, right? We do test. So what's the filter value in here? So filter value in here will be .me. So this is .me, and then return. Right. So now we should have only one value, I think, right? Which is gonna be Hazel. Hazel guy, I think, right? Okay, we done something wrong. What did I do wrong? Email. Oh, yeah, that's what the problem is. I think they should fix it. Yeah, now we have only this guy here. Now, like fundamentally, like the most important thing to understand is how fundamentally the filter value works, right? So this is kind of like the main thing, right? So again, I'm gonna reiterate this, right? When filter function gets called, row is basically all of your data. Every single one of them is gonna be running the filter function, right? So row gets called automatically, right? So second column ID is gonna be which accessor key or ID is calling this function. So you're gonna get this value here. And finally, what is the filter value that you've set through column dot set filter value. And then that's it. And based on this three type of information, and finally the fourth key is how do you access the original object inside the filter function so you can do your JavaScript filtering, right? And the way to do that is row original. That's it. So based on those 4 elements, you can do anything you want. You can filter any column in unlimited amounts of filters. Okay. Now another thing is I'm going to show you. Sometimes you want to remove filters. So I don't know. Let's say we have some kind of functionality where you have like triple filters in here, and you want to click a single button and remove one filter and leave the other 2. If you're doing like chip filters or something like that, right? They're called chip filters. Let me just Google them for you 1 second. Okay, so these are the chip filters, you see. So for example, female in Europe, right? So when you click on this chip, it will only leave female, for example, right? So the fastest way to remove filters would be to do this. I have to show it to you 1 second. Okay, so name of the function dot auto remove value, and then I'm gonna console log value for you, so you will see what value actually means in here. Okay, so value will be values that you pass into the filters. Okay, so there's going to be these values here. Now, this auto remove function basically looks at the value, and if this condition is met, it will remove the filter. By default, it's set to if the filter is null or undefined, remove the filter. Does that make sense? So let's put a condition. So right now we are filtering by .me. You see, .me. So let's put a condition that if the filter value is .me, remove the filter, right? So now, again, you have to remember that it returns either true, false, or whatever, undefined. If it's undefined, it doesn't do anything, basically, right? If it's true, then it removes the filter. If it's false, it keeps the filter, right? So we want value to be equal to dot, and we just copy and paste it from here, and you will see that our email filter is basically going to be removed. Does that make sense? So we're only going to be filtering by whichever name has a in it, because by hey, baha, you see, because .me filter was automatically removed, and you can see that it's not here anymore. Does that make sense? Like, the fastest way to create a chip filter is set filter value. So for example, if you set filter value to undefined, it will automatically remove the filter for you. You don't even need this function. If you basically just do this, I'll show you. Set it to null. The filter will be... Well, let's first do .me. Save both. Okay. So now we're going to get only one value, which is going to be this value here, because we're back to our standard filters, right? Okay, so let's say we want to remove this filter, and it's a chip filter, and we click on exit. So what you need to do in that case is you need to just set this value to null. Right, so we we need to make sure that... Okay, so we will render. Whoops. Oh, so this value is no. Okay, that's because there's the... Okay. Oh, yeah. So we need to create this because it sets the value. Okay, so we need to set. Okay. So now it should work. So now we see this value is null. No, don't be doing this again. God damn it. I'm gonna pause until it's going to unbug 1 second. Okay, so it's back to... So you see, we only have one filter, which is hot, because the other filter is null and it gets removed. If that makes sense. Because this value is false. Null. Okay? So that's kind of generally the... I know it's a lot to take in, but I mean, when you work in a company, you have to really... Because there are like filters and functions and table instances everywhere. You're like, what? Okay. So we have done this with you. So now finally... What am I gonna do? Finally... Okay. So let us... What are we gonna do? Alright, we're gonna work with these three things, and we're gonna first cover... What is the next topic? Oh, yeah, we need to go through frequently asked questions. Okay. So another frequently asked question... if I made a mistake, I told you that if you set the value to null, the filter gets automatically removed, but that's not the case. You have to put the auto remove function for the accessor function, right? Otherwise it's not going to be... If I set the filter value to null through... Move this thing here. So if we're setting value like this, will that automatically remove the filter? And the answer to that is no. The answer to that through... I'm gonna have to wait a bit, 1 sec. So, will that remove the filter if I do not have the remover function? I.e., we're talking about this one here. We are talking about this one here. Yeah, I probably need a stronger graphic card because I have 3 monitors running and recording and like 70 different tabs open. Some of them have videos in it, so I don't think it's liking it. Let me just pause 1 sec. Yeah, so you see, as soon as I stop recording, it kind of kicks in. That's because graphic card just doesn't have enough memory in it, I think. It just runs out of memory. Because it's a laptop, it's not the gamer's laptop. Okay, so the answer is no. It will not. I have to have auto remove for the filter function. Otherwise, it will just return accessor key name example, like first name, key or ID, first name, and then value. It's going to be i.e. the filter will continue to linger. So this bug is going to occur. I actually had to fix this bug when you click on the filter and it just doesn't get removed. Like the value gets removed, but the filter continues to linger, and that's because the accessor function is not, well, this here is not configured correctly. First, you have to have it, right? It has to be present. And number two, it has to be configured correctly. Because sometimes if you allow null as a value, if you don't configure it correctly, it could still sit there because null is allowed, if that makes sense. Alright, okay, so let's go through frequently asked questions. Let me just pause again. Okay, it's bugging like crazy, so I'm gonna just read out the questions. So they're gonna be in the frequently asked questions in the document, right? So the first one is, do you need to specifically allow columns to be filtered, or are they filterable by default? Okay, so look, column definition do not have this thing in it. Let me just show you some. I might not have it in here. Yeah, you see, enable column filtering. Now, by default, every column is true. So you do not, unless you want to not have it filterable, it's already true, if that makes sense, right? So you don't need to kind of specify it in here. It's already by default. If filter has no value, will the filter be auto removed? Yes, but as long as filter is not set to null manually. Example, whoops. So this is the one we're talking about. Actually, I'll put it in the below. So this will be question number 3. Okay. In that case, you need to have dot auto remove. So basically what we're asking is very simple. Where can I show it to you? I think the easiest way would be to show it in here. Column filtering, I think like this would be the easiest way. Okay, so you see right now there is no filter. I'll show it to you differently, I think. Column filtering. There you go. So if we do let's do. So look. If we do, what's the name of table in here? Table instance, right? Table instance get state column filters. I think it's like this, right? Yeah, column filters. There you go. Okay, so look, we have nothing in here, so there are no filters inside the columns. As soon as we start adding something, filters start to appear. Do you see? With value. March, maybe? Huh. Interesting. So you see? Now, when this value is null, and it's not set manually, I'm talking like When it's basically empty, filter gets removed. You see? There is no filter. Now there's gonna be no filters. But if you manually set the filter to null, like I showed in this example here, if you set it to manually like this, will it be there? 1 second. I could be trolling. Let me just double check this. Yeah, I think it's gonna be there. Yeah. Yes, if you basically manually set it, then it's gonna be there. Right, so the only way to remove it, if you're manually setting it like this, you have to put the auto remove, otherwise it's just not going to work. Okay, so that's covered. If I set filter value to null through set filter, so we already covered that with you. Okay, so next one, how to tell if the column can be filtered. Okay, so sometimes you're going to do this, which is gonna be enable column filters to false, right? So how can you only get well, let me just remove one column definition, and let's date cannot be filtered. Okay, so how can we get only let me just remove some console logs from here. So table state. Okay, so how can we get only columns that can be filtered, right? Because you don't want to apply sometimes. I don't know, sometimes you're working and you just want to know which columns can be filtered, right? So the way to do that, I think, would be, let me just have a look. Column get can filter. Okay, so what's the best way to do it? Well, we're already mapping through headers, right? So, okay, well, let's do console log then. Let's do column object dot column. So this is individual column, and then we can call get can filter value on. So this will return true or false, right? Can it be filtered? So now we should be able to see true, false, true, false, true, false. Huh. Why is it doing that? Wait. So true. Wait. Let me just think 1 second. Okay, so this is a bit gonna be a bit confusing. Okay, so I put column ID in here as a console log, and then column can get filtered in here. Let me just do another console log for you so you will understand where it's coming from. Single column. So column object is array of all columns, and then column is we're mapping through it, remember. Well, no, column object is the actual object, so it's a single column, right? And inside of this column there is a column. Well, it's well, this is a headers. Anyway, like you need to kind of get used to console logging this stuff, so you will understand what all of these layers mean. Kind of, that's probably the most difficult part about TanStack, is just to understand this layer stuff. Okay, so single column. Let me just reload this. Okay, so look, single column comes from the header array. Well, there's like headers, we map through them, we get column, every column, and inside of that column object there is a column property, and that property column is what you're looking at right now. Maybe I should probably go back maybe one step. Yeah, I'll just do the whole thing for you, so you won't get confused. Otherwise, this one is like super head wrecker. So this is headers array. This is headers array. Otherwise, it's gonna be like a disgusting head wrecker. So remember, headers array gives us every single header, right? And inside of headers, we have headers array, which is this thing here. Headers array, right? So this is this headers array thing. We are mapping through it to get every single column. And inside the column object, you have a property called column. So when you're accessing column, right, you are accessing a lot of different setter and getter functions that are responsible for working with that specific column, right? So we want to know, is this column filterable? There is a method which is called getCanFilter. It returns either true or false. So this function here, when you call it, is gonna correspond to the column definitions. So by default it returns true, but if you set it to false, this function key here will return false. Okay, and we can see that. So I'm gonna close this. So you can see we need to find name, right? Okay, so name ID we can filter. First name we can filter. Last name we can filter. Email we can filter. Date false. Do you see? That's because this here is false, and we are calling this function here can filter. Does that make sense? And that's how you filter. Now in this column here you can get a lot of stuff. You can get like get filter value, do you see, remember the get filter value method? You can get it from here as well. There's a bunch of other methods like set filter value. Again, we're calling the column again. This column is kind of like that's where all your that's how you interact with this column, and this is through this object in here that has a lot of methods in it. Now all of these methods are very similar to the table instance methods. So you see you have get header group, right? You have your flex renders and column IDs and stuff like that in here, you see. Get row model, get visible cells. So this is kind of like on table level, but you see the get and set methods are also available on column level. That's kind of the essence of TanStack. It makes it very easy to work. Okay. So this is covered. If filter returns undefined, does it count as true or false? If filter function, my apologies, not here. The answer to that is true. So if the filter function does not return anything, the row will be returned. Right, the row will be returned. Can accessor function return HTML? Accessor function cannot. Cell function can. Are .set filter values case sensitive? The answer is no. So if you put in here ha, you see. If you put just ha like this, it will still show the same thing, right? Oh no, it is case sensitive. My apologies. Yes, it is. Yeah. So ha does not equal to ha. Yeah. Yes, it is case sensitive. Ha does not equal to ha. Okay. Final question. If there are no filters in the table, will filter function be called? And the answer is no. So if you have 0 filters, you can console log all you like, but this function will not be triggered if there are 0 filters. I'm talking about like there are no filter values. Okay? I kind of showed that in the tutorials. Okay, so final 2 things we're gonna do. Let me just pause 1 second. Okay, so the next thing we're gonna do is gonna be called accessor function. So okay, so let's say you have a use case where you need to change Shannon. Well, let's say, I don't know, you can have a use case where some value is null in the API, right? So the table is populated and you notice that some values are, and you look at the API and there is null in there, right? So you're thinking, okay, so how do I replace null with some value? So in this case, we're going to treat Shannon and Chase as null, right? So we're going to replace them with my value. So it's in first name. The first thing we need to do is we need to create a accessor function. So we type accessor fn and then name of our function. So we're gonna call it first name accessor function. Now again, you can do it in here like this. Every accessor function has access to the row, and then you can do your magic in here, but I think it would be easier just to do it in here, right? So function accessor function, so there's going to be a row. Now row is automatically passed, so it's exactly the same as this one, exactly the same. So I'm just going to console log row for you so you can see that it's being called. And this is very, very easy. So row is going to be let's see. Oh my god, what the hell is going on? Header array, so I think I console too much stuff. Yeah, I did. Okay, so we need to remove. Otherwise there's just too much shite. So again, you see, accessor function is exactly the same as filter function. So it runs through. You see, there's nothing being returned. That's because we're not returning anything, basically, right? Now, accessor function has already kind of like original in it. Do you remember we had to do row.original, but accessor function is already row original, right? So what do we want to do? Normally we want to return. So normally we want to return row dot first name, like this. So this should populate this thing with correct values, right? Yeah. Okay, so now we want Shannon and Thane. So very simple. If row dot first name equals to this, or row dot first name is equal to what? Thane. Right, we want to return, we want to do like this. Row first name equals to secret value. Well, any value. Let's just do this. It's up to you. And then return row dot first. So now we can see that we're gonna see that Shannon and Thane are gonna be replaced by any value. Whoops. Oh, god damn it. Yeah, that's because. Yeah, it's because it's filtering it out. I'm debating, should we remove the filters? Well, let's just add ha to it, right? So this would be. So let's do ha any value like this. I think this will work, right? Yeah, you see? So now it's being replaced, you see? Now, the reason why I had to add high is because obviously there are filters, right? And I don't want to remove the filters because this will mess up. Actually, I'll just remove the filters. Let's just remove the filters. We can just probably just do this. Like so. But then now we're gonna have to probably. Yeah, so now we're returning everything. So let's just change Tommy and Delilah. Right, so this is Tommy. And then we want Delilah. Whoops, like so. Yeah, you see, so now it's being replaced. Now, you cannot, I repeat, you cannot do this in the accessor function. Like so. You cannot do it. If you want something like this, right, you want to style it somehow. It will not work. You see, it's going to return object, right? So if we want to do something like this, okay, so this is basically accessor function done, right? So that's how you do it. It's very straightforward. You have your row. Inside the row, you have an instance of the data, which is this one here, and then you can do whatever the hell you want with it, conditionally, right? And return whatever the hell you want. And whatever you return is going to be displayed in the table cell, right? Okay, so next thing we're gonna go through cell function. So let's do last name, and there is a thing called cell, right? So again, cell can be done like this. or it can be done through last name cell function, like this. So function like this. Let me just remind myself, what does it do? Oh yeah, cell. Yeah. So cell, I think, is... Honestly, I think it's a row as well, right? Let me just have a look. Cell. I'm almost certain it's also a... So let's remove this console logs. Okay, so each cell is basically... So you can get value, right? You have access to the table. You have access to column. There's probably original in here somewhere, right? Yeah. Okay, let's see. Yeah, you see, you have access to original as well. So you have access to row in here as well. Yeah, this cell is very, very... you have a lot of stuff in here. Okay, so but the easiest one is get value. So get value actually gets the whatever is in here. You see? Kind of like that's the most used, I'd say, most likely. Okay, so what do we need to do? We need to do, so we can return. Now this one can return HTML. So let's do span. Whoopsie. And then let's put cell get value into it like this. And then let's style and let's put color red like this. So now I think that should do it, right? Yeah, so now you see all of them are red in this column. So you can do like if conditions, you know, if you want. And remember, like, you don't have to do everything in the... You like one of the things, one of kind of like caveats or whatever it's called, right? You have to remember that the access function is called through here, right? So let's say you want to style first name, you need to put the access function into the first name, as opposed to trying to figure out how to do it through here. Does that make sense? Because sometimes I forget. I myself sometimes like forget it. And multiple times, like I was like, oh my god, how do I get this? Oh wait, I forgot to put the function into the column definition. Duh. Does that make sense? It's like a lot of times you just forget that you need to put stuff into it, right? And that's about it. So that's the whole thing. If you have any questions, just feel free. I'll put a lot of links in the description below, so you have access to all the like information, and I hope you don't get lost. Right? TanStack is very, very good framework. It's just that it's very complicated, but once you learn it, it's definitely worth the time. It saves a lot of time, and it makes stuff working tables like super easy, right? And also, like, you can separate logic very, very easily. Like and subscribe. Hit that like and subscribe button. So, okay, take care, bye bye.